One of the reasons why I like to study church history is because I want to learn from those who have done right and emulate their godliness and learn from their sound doctrine. But also on the other side, if there's been some mistakes that have been made, and there have been many in regard to Israel throughout history, I want to learn from that as well and to perhaps avoid some of the errors and the pitfalls that people have fallen into. And I definitely think that ends up being the case when you look at some of the replacement theology or supersessionism that has been held throughout history. Throughout church history, there have been two main approaches to Israel's role in the plan of God. We could call these two main approaches or two main trajectories. There can be variations within each of these, but the first one is the replacement view, and then the second one would be the restoration view. The replacement view, which we've already alluded to, would be the view that the church has replaced or superseded Israel as the people of God. The second view would be the opposite of that. That would be the restoration view, which would be the belief that God does have plans for Israel. Yes, Israel has experienced judgment, but the restoration view holds that there is going to be a future salvation and restoration of the nation Israel. And I want to mention those two particular terms because I think it's important. There is some debate when it comes to when replacement theology actually starts. Like I said, there may have been a hint of it as Paul addresses it in Romans 11:1. But it seems like a lot of scholars think that around AD 150 is a good time to kind of, put a peg in the wall when it comes to dating replacement theology. It's at that particular time an individual named Justin Martyr. He became the first to explicitly identify the church as Israel. You have Augustine, who lives from 354 to 430, who becomes known as the father of amillennialism, and he becomes very influential. And with amillennialism, there definitely is a spiritualizing of the kingdom. You're not looking for a literal 1,000-year kingdom to come. The idea that the church has become the new Israel has become very strongly entrenched. So when you hit this particular period of this 1,000-year period, there's a very, very strong Augustinian amillennialism with very little expectation concerning the restoration of Israel. But when you come to the primary reformers, now again, I think their interests were primarily in other areas that they were dealing at the time and not so much on eschatological matters. But I think the first generation of reformers, for the most part, I think went along mostly with the prevailing tradition that had been before. In his study, Ian Murray, the Reformed a scholar and historian, noted that, quote, belief in a future conversion of the Jews became commonplace among the English Puritans. Thomas Brightman, for example, in his Revelation of the Apocalypse in 1615 said, shall they return to Jerusalem again? There is nothing more certain. The prophets do everywhere confirm it and beat upon it. Perspectives concerning supersessionism or replacement theology have been seriously affected by two developments, the Holocaust and the establishment of the modern state of Israel. And I don't think it's an understatement to say that this has been a major, major earthquake on the theological scene, a major 9.0 on the Richter scale sort of thing. I wish I had time to go through all the denominations that have gone through and reevaluated their beliefs about Israel because of these two particular events. But let's just say that the 20th century has definitely been a time period in which there's been some soul searching from various denominations on previous replacement theology views. And there have been some that have gone back and actually repudiated some of the replacement theology. Perhaps even in evangelical circles, I think there's even somewhat of a resurgence when it comes to replacement theology. If you follow some of the debates or the books that have come out, you can see that there's still a pretty strong challenge. But there's no doubt that the last couple hundred years have been overall have been very good for when it comes to the issue of the church and evaluating issues related to Israel. I think there's going to come a point where, whether Jesus comes soon or not, we're going to look back at our time in history, right? And we're going to be able to evaluate, well, what did the church of 2013 in that particular era believe pertaining to these issues? And of course, I think our goal should be, and I know it's my goal, to have right doctrine in hopefully all areas of the Bible, but also to have a correct view concerning the people of Israel and to be on record as those understanding their role in the plan of God and what the future holds for them as well.